Welcome to our podcast, Jim McLennan, Essential Tennis Instruction. I'd like to talk about sort of a visual illusion on the tennis court and why that creates the most common error in tennis. Errors are either forced, somebody hits a great shot and you foul it up, or unforced, they keep the ball in play and you make an error. And unforced errors can be errors of height, too long or too low, or errors of width. But I believe the most common error in tennis is the ball that we hit into the net. I believe the most common error in tennis is the ball we hit into the net. And I believe that's because, as you see the camera angle right now, players on the baseline are looking through the net. And the fact that they're looking through the net means that ever so slightly, they're less aware of this barrier than if that was a wall. Vic Braden has done experiments where he has two courts side by side. One court is covered, the entire net is covered with blankets, and the other court's normal. And then there's a counter on one court and a counter on the other court. And all the counters do over a period of time is count the number of errors that go into the net. And sure enough, the court with the blanketed net that you cannot see through, those players are more prone to hit up and over the net. Now, in psychology, there's something called the Hawthorne effect, which means that sometimes if you change one aspect of an experiment, the simple change influences people independent of the change that was done. But nevertheless, I want to suggest that the most common error in tennis is hitting into the net because from where you stand, you're looking through the net. So years ago, they're interviewing Ion Tiriac, at that point coach of Boris Becker and supposed to be the smartest man in tennis. And for World Tennis Magazine, they asked him, what do you recommend a tennis player do? What's the simplest thing you could say? And he says, put the ball over the net. And as funny as that sounds, he didn't even say hit it in. Put the ball over the net. And I believe that's as simple as it gets. And part of these podcasts are to cut to the chase. And the chase I ask you to cut to today is to be totally aware of how many times you hit the ball into the net. Now let me give you a different perspective. As a player comes closer, their vision changes. And if you continue to come closer, you start to see how in some instances now the cameraman or you are looking in a different perspective and the camera can come closer yet and closer yet. And so supposedly from this angle of play, it's easier to play tennis because the net is less of a barrier. But if we back up one more time, and I'll move with you, the takeaway you have this week, or from this podcast, is tennis is a game of up. Tennis is a game of up. And can you be the player who's going to lift that ball? Can you be the player who knows they're looking through the net? Can you be the player who, after a conclusion of a point or a rally, stands there while the opponent walks up to their side of the court to pick up balls that have hit their net? Stay with it.